We are going to talk about this wonderful, wonderful newspaper. Sandy, you're a massive fan of those guys. It's The Sun UK. Prakhar, we need to do your episode also. So, listeners, in case you are wondering why Prakhar is not doing an episode, it's because Prakhar is extremely busy. I say this very genuinely. Like he has a million things that he takes up at once. So he has a band. That band is doing exceptionally well. They are right now in the process of India's Got Talent, and I want to know more about that. Then Prakhar also teaches kids drumming, I believe. Yeah, drumming. Then Prakhar is also getting...
It would be so weird now if Prakhar were a drummer and was teaching tango to a bunch of kids.
What do you mean? You can be a drummer and you can be a teacher of something else, not music related.
Yeah, but it would be such a weird thing to do.
So strange. Also,
India's Got Talent, mein Prakhar is playing the drums while tangoing at the same time.
That should have been your challenge. Prakhar, tell us about India's Got Talent. What's happening there?
The last episode that we recorded is going to be aired tonight, by the way.
Nice.
Tonight is, what's the date? What's the date?
23rd November. And it'll be aired tonight.
On
Sony Live. And if you're listening to it, whenever you guys are listening to this episode, you can watch it on Sony Live. I don't know if
we can put a link.
Yeah, we can put a link. Yeah. So please watch that episode.
Please. No, but it's super entertaining. You know, I was looking at your performance, and I remember you all from the performance at that, what was that place where you did a performance in drag?
Kitty Zoo.
And I remember Mayank was good. Like I remember him to be a good singer, and I remember I enjoyed the entire thing. But in my head, I always supported Kapow because, you know, it's your band. And then when I listened to it, I messaged Sandy. I was like, he's an exceptionally good singer. Like I did not realize this. I knew they were good, but I didn't know they were this good. So I see why you're popular.
Well, thanks, sir. You're very popular.
Because people will already have. I mean, this episode is not coming out before your episode launches of the India's Got Talent, your performance. So tell us about it.
So in this episode of India's Got Talent, we were asked to bring in like a challenge, a challenge with your act, you know. So we had to challenge ourselves in our act. Like all the other contestants.
Who else would you challenge? Like, if you challenge the judges, then it's not a challenge, no?
No, but like challenge between two contestants also can be a thing. No, but we had to challenge ourselves.
I wonder if you can challenge Anu Malik to not be the asshole person.
Anu Malik was a special guest. I think he was a special guest. He's not a recurring judge.
Thank God. He's so annoying. Anyway, continue, Prakhar.
He wasn't annoying, by the way.
You have to say so.
Just give us...
You have to say this. I don't have to say this.
What if he really is listening to our podcast, by the way, Ashmita?
I don't think so.
But what if?
Not even all of our friends are listening to the podcast too.
That is true.
Anu Malik is not even in our social circle.
What if he's listening and he's going like, aag laga di. Crazy ho jayega. No, but this episode is very, very interesting because first of all, the entire India's Got Talent thing is very overwhelming and very exciting actually for us because this is the first time that we're doing it. Yeah, so we had a lot of challenges in mind. Like we had a big list. I remember I sent you also a few suggestions and asked you for your suggestions also, which was very, like, honestly pretty bad suggestions.
No, but please tell us no. Tell us no. What was your... Please. I want the listeners to know what
you guys gave pretty...
What your first thought was, what you sent, that we could do this also. I want the listeners to know what you thought of us doing. Please tell us.
When it comes to challenge, like, isn't it better or isn't it challenging when you really feel the challenge, right? So I thought it'll be really nice if we play hanging from the roof, maybe upside down, and
Upside down.
that can be a proper challenge, no? And I had the entire plan in mind, by the way. What if we can drill the entire kit on a platform and then we hang it upside down?
Oh,
I can
God.
like put in a strap and then so that I don't fall. But what if I fall? It'll be very
Not that I have any sympathy for Isaac Newton, but he's probably rolling in his grave right about now. Like, what was the point of discovering gravity when people just don't give a fuck about gravity in real life? What even is gravity?
he might be rolling with Adele.
So, oh God.
I mean, Adele is alive, dude. I mean, so I
What
don't.
did Prakhar, why did you can this idea, by the way?
A very stupid reasoning behind it.
Oh, stupid reasoning behind it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. They were like, logistically, it doesn't make sense. I was like, it completely makes sense.
I wonder why. I wonder
is
why
so
they thought it was logistically.
That is the
difficult to
stupidity.
do.
Not that
Yeah.
logistics practicality.
Obviously.
Logistics practicality is the difficult thing to do. Hanging upside down, drilling the drum kit onto a platform and attaching it
Ashmita,
upside
see.
down.
Ashmita, practicality doesn't make you big or famous, right? When you do
Oh, okay.
In the next round, do your entire set nude.
Of course, that's a
Practicality
plan.
is the.
So that is a plan. See, I have all these logical ideas that can make me famous. It's just these production people.
I'll
that-
tell you what will make you even famous. Next time, have Anu Malik on stage and have him butt naked, and you play the songs.
that will get him famous, not us. No.
No, you also famous. No.
I anyway don't watch this, but the clips that I watch on Prakhar's Instagram, I will mute him for the time that this comes out, because I have no intention of seeing Anu Malik nude.
Fair enough. So,
Nice.
do we have a segue? Big question.
Segue from.
Do we have a segue after Anu Malik being naked?
Not from Anu Malik being naked, but speaking of absolutely ridiculous things that people who do them consider them to be completely normal, but everybody around them considers them to be just a pain in the ass. We are going to talk about this wonderful, wonderful newspaper. Sandy, you're a massive fan of those guys. It's The Sun UK. Prakhar, are you familiar with this newspaper, The Sun from UK?
No.
Okay, so I came across this. Of course, Sandy has spoken to me about The Sun. By the way, this segue was not bad at all. I'm quite proud of myself.
Oh, it had happened. The segue had happened.
Fuck you, Prakhar. Okay, so Sandy has spoken to me about The Sun, and then I don't know, Prakhar, if you remember in Ted Lasso, in one of the episodes when this reporter stands up and he says he's from The Sun, everybody boos. Yeah, so that's how we are familiar with The Sun, which is like a tabloid nonsense. But I came across
it's a real newspaper.
It is a real
Yes,
newspaper.
yes.
And it has a colorful fucking history, okay?
Newspaper is a very loose term, by the way. Like,
It's a
so
tabloid.
it's a very loose term.
It's a tabloid. Okay?
There is no news in that paper. Yeah.
Yeah. There isn't. Now,
What is it about?
So,
What do they print?
they print gossip. It's fully a tabloid, okay?
We should market.
It's like a 10-page version of your Delhi Times or Mumbai Times or something, and just like 10 times worse.
So much worse. So much worse. And Sandy is right now talking about this, but he's, of course, has spoken very highly about the newspaper to me before and their amazing coverage of football and everything. Yeah, but other Liverpool football Club fans have fully boycotted this newspaper. So in all seriousness, that's also
And
how I've heard of it.
not just Liverpool, by the way. Like a lot of
Yeah,
football fans now,
yeah,
yeah, unanimously they boycott the
yeah,
Sun.
yeah. Liverpool specifically, because Sandy, do you want to tell us about the Hillsborough disaster in 1989 and the Sun's
I,
coverage? Just so that there's some context on why this is such a horrible tabloid. Like, it's a tabloid on its best days, on its not so great days. It's like a combination of Trump and Modi and Ramdev Baba on acid. It's horrifying. So, but I want you to give some context to Prakhar on, and of course the listeners as well, in case you all don't know, of the Sun's coverage of 1989 Hillsborough disaster.
yeah, yeah.
Is it SUN?
SUN,
SUN.
the SUN,
Go ahead, Sandy.
right? So just in a nutshell, in 1989, Liverpool was playing a match. It was an FA Cup semi-final, if I'm not mistaken. It was at this stadium called the Hillsborough. Hillsborough is also a place in England, right? So the match was taking place, and to cut things short, a lot more people, fans, were allowed into the stadium by the police and the stewards. So generally, wherever there is a football match taking place, the Metropolitan Police gets involved to ensure that there is hooliganism doesn't take place, or that everything is safe and sound and whatever, right? So a lot more football fans were allowed into the stadium, and
More than the capacity, you mean?
More than the
more than the
capacity, yeah.
way more significantly more than the capacity, and basically the entrance was shut behind them, so people couldn't move forward or they couldn't go back, and naturally panic set in. A stampede of sorts took place, and about 96 people lost their lives on the spot, and it's considered 97 now, because one supporter got injured around that time, and he suffered for a very 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 long time, and eventually died in the past 5 or 6 years.
Oh my God.
So he's also considered an eventuality of a casualty of that same incident. Hence why,
Yeah.
right? So that's why 97 supporters lost their lives during that incident,
And many
in
were
the
injured.
after, yeah, significantly many more were injured, and obviously there is a lot of trauma involved. A lot of people lost their friends, family members, stuff like that.
So back then they had to buy tickets, right? So did they have like a limit on how many tickets they can sell, or they sold more than the capacity, or just people were let in without tickets also?
Yes, they were let. So significantly, also you have to remember that this was 1989. Like, football regulations were not as stringent, or things take time to put in place, right? And there were not a lot of laws and regulations in place around that time. And around that time, there was this system of standing, like a system of standing in the football arenas also. So because standing allows for more people to come into the ground, they just let in more people, and they closed the entrance behind them. Yeah, the stampede took place. 97 people lost their lives over the years. And in the aftermath of that, what happened was the Metropolitan Police said it was not us. It was the Liverpool fans who were the cause of all of this, and they are the responsibility and all of that. And the Sun was the primary, I say the term newspaper very loosely, which was at the forefront of massacring the image of the Liverpool fans. And they did a lot of these, what are they called? Sort of dirty hit pieces on the Liverpool. And if I'm not mistaken, was Thatcher the Prime Minister around that time?
1989.
I think Margaret Thatcher was the...
Yeah. They had supported
I think Margaret Thatcher. Yeah. So just for those who don't know, Margaret Thatcher was a horrible, horrible woman. And like a lot of the policies that she put in place were... they helped no one. Like, Margaret Thatcher is one of the most hated prime ministers in all of British, and it has a history of Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak also. Amongst all of them, Margaret Thatcher is one of the worst ones. Imagine how bad she must have been. So having said all of that, anyway, so the Sun just put out hit piece after hit piece after hit piece, like a tabloid column would, on the very same people who had lost their family members, who had lost their friends during this entire tragedy. So yeah, so since then the Sun has been like totally avoided, boycotted, and it's unanimously boycotted by almost everyone in football, in the footballing world at the very least, and
Yeah.
even outside of that.
So I'll tell
Yeah.
you.
Is it
So
I'll tell
that
you.
is.
Sorry,
is
Prakhar.
it run like independently, or is it like state controlled and state run?
Not
What?
state controlled. It's under a network. So I'll get into the
Okay.
history
Okay.
of the Sun, but let me tell you what the Sun published after this incident. 4 days after this incident, they published a piece called "The Truth." Okay, I mean, how history comes full circle is amazing. It is as credible as the current platform, The Truth is. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And they accused the Liverpool fans of causing the deaths of 96 supporters. The subheadings that followed this controversial headline were, variations of, and I'm quoting, some fans pickpockets of victims, some fans urinated on the brave cops, and some fans beat up PC giving kiss of life. I don't know what this means, Sandy. Do you know what this means? PC giving kiss of life?
Police constable, I guess. PC must be police constable.
So I also imagine that they were giving mouth to mouth because there was no context of this from
Yeah,
what I could
yeah.
find. But essentially, they put out absolutely illogical, ridiculous headlines. Who's urinating on anybody at any point of
I'll
time when
I'll
a
also tell
stampede is
you.
going on?
I'll tell you where that is coming from. Another just brief context. I might have mentioned this on a couple of occasions to you, Ashmita, but again, going back to Thatcher. So, Liverpool has always been and still continues to be a city which celebrates being anti-establishment. So it's very extremely
Anti-British.
socialist city. It's anti-monarchy. It's anti-government. It's anti everything, because over the years there were a lot of policies, especially under Margaret Thatcher, where because of their anti-establishment stance, Liverpool was more often than not neglected as a city which was considered for development. So as a result of that, there was a lot of, as you would imagine, crime, because people had no other means, right, to earn money, or there was no employment there. There were no social reform schemes there. There were no,
Yeah.
even to this date, the Liverpool has one of the highest number of food banks in operation in all of the UK.
Yeah.
So food banks is where people come and donate food for people who genuinely need food because they can't afford to buy food, right? And all of this
Basically,
is because
Liverpool is their northeast.
in some way, and
Not
to
geographically,
a large
like
extent,
the
yeah,
way
yeah,
mainland India treats its northeastern
yeah.
states is how UK treats Liverpool.
Yeah, yeah, basically yes. So they are the weird people with the weird accents, and they were almost always neglected, right? So as a result of that, the crime rate was high, and that's where the pickpocketing jibe also comes in the sun, because crime was high as a result of not having enough employment opportunities, not having enough food on the table, and that is a jibe at Liverpool even to this day, despite the times having changed and a lot of development having occurred over the years. But it is not because of the government, it is despite the government, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, back to you, Ashmita.
After this, like Sandy mentioned, the Sun was not just boycotted by Liverpool fans, but a rare occasion when your city rivals. I say your because Sandy is a massive Liverpool fan for the listeners. So of course he hates the Sun with a passion.
And he never walks alone.
Sandy's Instagram handle had a, I don't know if it still has it. It at long back, like 5-6 years back, it used to be "You never smoke alone." Is it still the same, Sandy?
No,
I
it's
don't know. I
Beardo, I
haven't
think.
checked it.
But anyway, so the city rivals of Liverpool FC, Everton also came together and they also fully
Yeah.
boycotted the Sun. Basically, a horrible, horrible newspaper, tabloid. And we will go into the history of the Sun. We are going to go into what the Sun has been up to, how it started off, and some really, really fucked up things, such as this particular hit piece that they wrote. Of course, that was not the first or the last that they did, and the wonderful, wonderful people behind the Sun, some of whom you will recognize. They are popular in
Oh.
all the wrong
Yeah,
ways.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
So that's what we are going to talk about today.
While we leave you hanging, for those who already know who it might be, well, kudos to you. Those who don't know, please wait for us until after the break to get to know who the real owners of the sun are. And no, it's not
Yeah.
God. Fuck off.
Yeah.
See
So
you
if you
after the
don't
break.
know, do care to join us after the
Yes, Prakhar.
Welcome back from the break. Hope you had a good one. And now we'll get back into the sun and find out more terrible things about this particular tabloid. Back to you, Ashmita.
Yes. Okay, so as usual, I'll start by reading out what Wikipedia says. The Sun is a British tabloid newspaper published by the News Group Newspapers, division of News UK. So it's a pretty large corporation. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of Lachian Murdoch's News Corp, Robert Murdoch's elder son. Hello everyone, this is Ashmita. You must have noticed that I call Rupert Murdoch as Robert Murdoch, and I do that unfortunately and frustratingly quite a few times in the episode. Not that I feel bad for mistaking his name, but much like the subject of this episode, I seem to have taken some editorial liberties. So I'm sorry about that. Every time I say Robert Murdoch, I'm talking about Rupert Murdoch. Alright, back to the episode. I hope you enjoy it. Right, so Robert Murdoch, we'll get into the history with him as well. It was founded as a broadsheet in 1964. Broadsheet, for those of you who don't know, broadsheet is like a more serious newspaper, right? They are the larger newspaper. Tabloids are usually smaller. Broadsheets are think Telegraph and stuff like that. These are reputed broadsheets. So the Sun, actually, when it was founded in 1964, it was a broadsheet, right? And later, it was a successor to the Daily Herald. We'll get into how this happened. And later, in 1969, it became a tabloid when it was purchased by its current owner, right? Wikipedia continues, the Sun had the largest daily newspaper circulation in the UK, but was overtaken by free sheet rival Metro in March 2018. Till very recently, the Sun was doing exceptionally well, right? Any guesses on what their political stance is?
Is that a rhetorical question or are you genuinely asking?
I'm genuinely asking.
I think they're left leaning.
I mean, I did mention Margaret Thatcher, is it not?
So today, obviously, it's a right-wing outlet. Okay.
Oh my God, I am surprised.
Yes.
But it has a colorful political history also. So we'll be getting into that. But currently, like in 2023, YouGov UK had conducted a research to judge how UK citizens trust their media outlets. The Sun was ranked the last. It was absolutely a devastating ranking for them. I quote from
They made it to the list.
They made it to
the list.
They made it to the list because every single news outlet and tabloid, everything made to the list. That's why they made to the list. Okay, and I'll quote what was written in YouGov UK's website about this research. They said the Sun came in last as the news outlet most likely to be considered untrustworthy. Over half, 59% of respondents said that the Sun was untrustworthy, with 36% saying that it was very untrustworthy in their view. Some 6% of people considered the brand trustworthy, giving it a net trust score of minus 53. In this list, the most trusted outlet was the Financial Times with a score of plus 30. So a difference of 83 points. I mean, there are like several and severe issues with the Financial Times as well. Financial Times has been hauled up for its fossil fuel advertising, its murky history, so it's not great. But that's a story for some other time. The key takeaways All network-owned media is fucked. Support independent journalism. Anyway, back to the Sun. So the Sun has been repeatedly accused of misleading or wholly fabricating stories, including false accusations against celebrities like Elton John for some reason, and we'll get into this also later on. They have some very interesting history with Elton John. And they have also done biased defamatory coverage of events. It's also been forced to apologize for sexist and demeaning coverages. So think
Forced to apologize.
forced to apologize, yes.
They didn't mean to, but they were forced.
Oh, yes, their apologies were absolutely ridiculous, right? I mean, think of like India Today or Aaj Tak, even now NDTV, you know. Basically, any network-owned media house in India today, India right now, not India today, like India as of date.
It was India, today.
Yes, that is basically the Sun, right? And we are going to get into all of that, but we're going to start off with the small period where the Sun was actually a real newspaper. That is from 64 to 69. The beginning was actually 69. The beginning was, that's how you know it was fucked right from the beginning. So this was launched on September 15, 1964 as a broadsheet, like I told you. The aim was to succeed the struggling Daily Herald. Daily Herald at that point of time was initially a left-wing paper. Like I think in 1911 it was launched for the first time, Daily Herald, and it used to be a left-wing paper, and then it became more of a daily paper, but it was not doing very well. So by 1960s, when the Sun was formed, that's when the readership was in massive decline for Daily Herald, right? Now, International Publishing Corporation, the organization that owned Daily Herald, they decided to launch the Sun to replace Herald. This was aimed, what they say, to attract a new readership described as social radicals rather than just political radicals. Its initial slogan was a paper born of the age we live in, targeted to the spirit of the 1960s. 1960s was, the hippie era was in place. Then there was a lot of left-wing idealism, socialism was picking up. So that was the time that the original Sun was brought in. I found this article by historicnewspapers.com. Pretty good website. It said on 15 September 1964.
What does it do?
It talks about historic newspapers.
That makes sense. Yes. Yeah.
It says that the first page announced, the Sun's first page, the Sun is politically free. It will not automatically support or censor any party or any government. It is an independent paper designed to serve and inform all those whose lives are changing, improving, expanding in these hurrying years. Basically, you know what a newspaper is supposed to do, right? Like that's his job. And I will, of course, we will also share this with the listeners on our Instagram. But I just want to show you what the page looks like. The first edition. It says, "Good morning. Yes, it's time for a new newspaper."
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first, the Sun. And it is in such stark contrast to what it has become today. Like it looks serious, right? It looks like a serious newspaper. It has serious font and tonality and everything. I got this from an article by the Money Week. Some very good articles on the history of the Sun. But anyway, politically also at this point of time, this made a lot of sense. So this was the time when Harold Wilson's Labour Party, it came to power a month after the launch of October 1964 is when Labour Party came to power, and that was after 13 years of the Conservative rule. So it was very well timed, right? But the Sun struggled to gain a strong foothold, and sales declined from around 1.5 million in 1964 to about 850,000 by 1969. That's a massive dip, right? Are we surprised that good journalism was not selling even then? I think it doesn't sound unlikely to me, right?
Also, most people were just fucking stoned in the 60s, dude. So maybe they were just burning the newspaper, rolling up joints in that newspaper or doing something.
But that would increase sales anyway, no, Sandy?
I mean, they were probably using old newspapers also, no?
Fair.
I mean,
And how much? There's a lot of newspaper and a lot of roach can be made
From
from those
one.
newspapers.
I don't know. You are the experienced people. How would I know? I'm just guessing.
that is true. How would any one of us know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so now we come to the change in ownership, right, in 1969. And I want to talk about this change of ownership through this article by another news outlet, a proper news outlet called The Conversation, that spoke about this change because they've written it wonderfully well and I couldn't.
The conversation spoke about it.
Yes, The Conversation is the name of the newspaper. I quote, the paper could not sustain its promise of up-to-the-minute sophistication and it declined into banal and bland offering that failed to meet its sales target. The Sun's publisher, IPC, already owned the Daily Mirror, by far the nation's most popular title. In 1969, the publisher thought there was little risk in selling it to the young Australian entrepreneur Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch, many other terrible things. He is also involved here. So those of you who don't know who Rupert Murdoch is, I highly suggest reading up on him. He is the father of
Okay, wait.
sensationalism.
Wait. Those who don't know who Rupert Murdoch is, please get an education first. And then, yeah.
Sandy. That's
Everybody knows who Rupert Murdoch is.
And just, okay, fine. For the one lone person who might not.
Yes.
He's the father of sensationalism in journalism, right? He's pretty much responsible
Also, he's one of the richest people on the planet.
He is one of the richest people on the planet. Most of his money has been made from publishing houses and media outlets and a lot of scams. Like he is...
Of course.
Yeah. He's... I mean, that's a whole other episode. So we will not go into that, but massive controversies, right? I come back to what the conversation was saying. The IPC predicted that the sun would set and that would be the end of the story. They couldn't have been more wrong. Indeed, handing over the Sun proved to be one of the worst decisions in publishing history. Relaunched in November 1969 under the editorship of Larry Lamb, the paper became a runaway success. We are going to talk about Larry Lamb though. We are not going to talk about Rupert Murdoch too much because it's too much to talk about. He has done only and only terrible things in his life. His sons follow his footsteps. But Larry Lamb is an interesting enough character to talk about in a bit. I continue with the quote. Within a year, circulation doubled to over 1.5 million copies a day. Sales continued to climb until in 1978, it surpassed the circulation of the Mirror to become the nation's best-selling daily paper, a status it continued to enjoy until recent years. The Sun reinvented the tabloid model and became the most influential expression of British popular print culture. Why did Murdoch's Sun shine so much brightly than IPC's version? Essentially because it was, for better or worse, much more authentically born of the age we live in. Right? And I love how the conversation has written about this because it is true. Tabloids, despite the fact that we all know what nonsense tabloids sell, we love consuming it, right? Gossip columns sell because of that. We know they're lies. Right?
I mean, despite all of this, we know, like, for example, the biggest example is, again, owned by the same man, the Fox News channel.
Yes.
All the sensationalism, all the nonsense takes place on Fox News.
Yep.
And you would not be surprised to know that even Fox News is owned by the entire Fox network. Is owned by Rupert Murdoch. So the sensationalism is just not restricted to newspaper or tabloids. It's on your TV screens as well.
It's everywhere.
Right.
It is absolutely
Yeah, yeah.
everywhere. So in 1969, Rupert Murdoch acquired the Sun for about £800,000, which in 1969 was a massive
Yeah, yeah.
amount, right? And relaunched the newspaper as a tabloid and also introduced the infamous page 3 models. That was, of course, Larry Lamb and Rupert Murdoch's creation, right? Also, an interesting side note, Rupert Murdoch outbid Robert Maxwell for the purchase of this newspaper. For those of you who don't know, Robert Maxwell is the father of Epstein's literal partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell, right? And a side note to the side note, when my sister and I were in Indonesia last week, last to last week or the week before that. Anyway, the beginning of this month, we were
My
in.
God. Okay, maybe can we finalize one timeline? Because we have traveled through the entire year and we still don't know when you were in Indonesia. Just one thing. Just stick to one thing.
First weekend of November.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks for clarifying that. Right. So we saw this lady who looked so much like Ghislaine Maxwell, and we were just on our phones. She was sitting right next to us, right on the other table. We were at a sort of a bar, and we are just frantically searching if Ghislaine Maxwell has been, is on one of her excursions out from the prison, which, in case you didn't know, she's allowed to roam around as much as she wants. It's not a prison life at all. I don't know why I talked about that side note, but yeah, I just remembered. Anyway, so
Which is a
Robert,
rarity, listener. That's why she is sharing. She remembered. That never happens. That's a cause for celebration right now.
आग लगा दी आग लगा दी आग लगा दी
Robert Maxwell, we are going to get back to that. Robert Maxwell, he also tried bidding but lost out. And Robert Maxwell, in his own right, was also a terrible, terrible person. He was in the media business and publishing business as well. Quite a horrible human being as well. So the Sun was sort of doomed right from the start. As soon as it went up for sale, immediately it was fucked beyond words, right? 1969 onwards is when the downfall begins and enters Larry Lamb. Larry Lamb was the chief editor. He was hired by Robert Murdoch as the chief editor of The Sun. And Wikipedia says, Sir Albert Lamb, we are not going to call him Sir at all. He's commonly known as Larry Lamb, was a British newspaper editor. He introduced the page 3 feature to The Sun, for which he was the editor from 1969 to 1972, and then again from 1975 to 1981, which saw a dramatic increase of sales in 1970s. So the increase in sales was directly attributable to page 3, right? And page 3 popularly hosted like nude models, and just nude models wasn't the problem, but the way they were portrayed and objectified, that was the problem. And Rupert Murdoch and Larry Lamb.
Robert.
Theirs was a marriage made in heaven. I'm going to tell you about Lamb's recruitment, right? And I'm quoting from the Wikipedia of The Sun. They have given many sources of this, so you can look that up also. I did, and I know that this is valid, so I'm just going to read out from Wikipedia. It says, Lamb was scathing in his opinion of the Daily Mirror. Remember, Daily Mirror was the biggest competitor of The Sun at that point of time. The Sun, the newspaper, right? Because Daily Mirror was still doing fine. Lamb was scathing in his opinion of the Daily Mirror, where he had recently been employed as a senior sub-editor, and shared Murdoch's view that a paper's quality was best measured by its sales. Lamb regarded the Mirror as overstaffed and too focused on an aging readership. Geoffrey Hodgson of the Sunday Times interviewed Murdoch at this time and expressed a positive view of the rival's Mirror Scope supplement. Mirror Scope was Daily Mirror's supplement, right? Dropping a sample copy into the bin, Murdoch replied, "If you think we are going to have any of that upmarket shit in our paper, you are very much mistaken." Lamb hastily recruited a staff of about 125 reporters who were mostly selected for availability rather than their ability. That was about a quarter of what the Mirror then employed, and Murdoch had to draft in staff on loan from his Australian papers. So Murdoch is originally Australian born, but he's an American publisher, right? Murdoch immediately relaunched The Sun as a tabloid and ran it as a sister paper to the News of the World. News of the World is Murdoch's other paper. The Sun and News of the World were managed together. So the management level was the same. This is Lamb's very graceless entry into The Sun. And he honestly did not need ability. Like, there was no journalism, right? So why did he need journalistic ability? So whatever people he put together, they did a good enough job, because you don't need any reporting if you are working for The Sun, right? And that's how Lamb came into the picture. Larry Lamb deserves a different episode on his own. So again, we will not get into too much. We will go to day one of the new and not so improved Sun. This is, I'm again sharing my screen, and for the listeners, I'm showing the guys a picture of Robert Murdoch holding the first issue of The Sun. Can you see the headline?
Yeah, it says horse dope sensation.
Yup. Horse dope sensation was their official first headline. And I want to talk to you about what their first print was. And this I've taken from the Sun's own website. They've posted an article called "Celebrating the Sun's 50 Greatest Ever Front Pages as Britain's Favorite Paper Turns 50. Right? All 50 of those are terrible, terrible headlines. I will not get into all of those. I will not even link this because I don't want to send any more traffic to them. Horrible fucking paper. But let's talk about this horse dope sensation. Massive headline, right? It covers 1/3 of the page. What does the Sun say about this? It says, "Horse dope sensation was the first front page splash, an exclusive confession from the trainer Roy Petit that he had been drugging racehorses to make them run faster." After that, there is no clarification of this, like literally just this. And since 1969 paper is not digitized, there's no digitized version of this also. They have never followed up. They have never mentioned what the fuck happened. So shoddy journalism, even when the story was true, right? They continue, the article continues. On the same page, a young woman called Lady Lenora Grosvenor was denying the rumors that she was about to become engaged to a 21-year-old Prince Charles. So fucking odd. They themselves are saying this, like I'm quoting The Sun, and I'm continuing to quote. It says, inside the first edition, there was an interview with the then PM Harold Wilson, a spread on the Rolling Stones, a serialization of racy novel The Love Machine, a feature about sexy underwear, a column by George Best, full page ads for cigarettes and petrol, and a back page lead about football hooliganism. This is what their quote-unquote newspaper was. Not one of them is worth a read, right? It's insane. And fully just proudly declaring that they had full page ads for cigarettes and petrol. What the fuck, dude? Why?
There was no
I mean,
sense
they
of
go together.
regulation, right? Back then, there was no sense of regulation or kind of sorts, right? Back then.
Yeah, you were allowed to advertise cigarettes in the 1969. But you were not writing this article in 1969. You are writing this article 50 years later. Why are you mentioning this? Also, as a compilation of what you covered, why are ads a part of it? What is this behavior? The Sun then continues writing. This last line is amazing. They say, these days royal gossip is commonplace. But in 69, it was unheard of to step outside the restrictive confines of who was cutting what ribbon to report tittle-tattle. This is the most ridiculous sentence I have ever heard about news coverage. Because news news coverage was not. In 1969, a lot of shit was happening, friend. It was not who
Yeah.
was cutting what ribbon. This is such nonsense.
I
Right?
mean, they could have spent an entire year just covering the moon landing, dude.
Oh,
An
yes.
entire year's worth of news could have just come from the moon landing. The
You
first
know,
time in human history someone stepped on the moon. Dude, how many news articles can you churn out of that?
yeah, yeah. You know, there was a US version of the Sun, completely different, people completely. There was no relation to this Sun, and it was long, long back. They published a series of articles about, it was called the Moon Hoax, about apparently people living in the moon, on the moon, like an entirely
Hmm.
new species. They published a 6 series article. It's worth reading. I don't know why I said that, but yeah, it was basically nothing named the Sun is doing very well these days, or has for a while now. Okay, now we are going to go to the political stance of the Sun.
Do you know what the American version of the sun is?
What?
The Texan.
Oh, God.
Badamtis.
See, even Prakhar was shaking his head. That says a lot. Prakhar enjoys all sorts of nonsense jokes.
It was nice.
Sure, Prakhar.
But this.
Anyway, so the Sun today is a right wing newspaper, but at its core, it's just an opportunist little fuck, right? Ideally, I'm not saying that a newspaper should have political allegiance, right? Ideally, a newspaper wouldn't have any political allegiance and it would report on the left and the right and everything in between with facts. But we know that's not what media houses do. They take sides as per what their corporate overlords demand them to do so,
Decide,
right?
yeah.
Now, the Sun takes it a step further, not by being impartial, but by swinging from left to right as it sees fit, right? And this has an insane history. We cannot go into it because it's too much, but I want to talk to you about BBC's coverage of this in a very succinct way. They have mentioned it. And they have, I think they have, in this 5 to 6, sentences, they have swung 4 or 5 times from the left to right. So let me quote what BBC said. The Sun remained a Labour paper throughout the 1970s, but in 1979, it switched political allegiance and openly supported Margaret Thatcher with the headline, Vote Tory this time. This is
Wait, what? What? Vote?
Tory, Margaret Thatcher, the Conservative Party. Now, this is basically Arnab Goswami and the Republic, right? Like as a serious newspaper. Well, not that the Sun is a serious newspaper, but a media outlet. You cannot ask people to vote for a particular party. But sure, except in America, apparently in US newspapers very easily endorse presidential candidates, but another topic. I continue with the article. And on the day of 1992 general election, so we talked about 1979 when it went to Conservative end. On the day of 1992 general election, when it again backed the Conservatives, it printed the headline, If Kinnock wins today, will the last person to leave Britain please turn out the lights? Referring to the then Labour leader, Neil Kinnock. Right? So still Conservative. After the Conservatives won that election, the paper cheekily splashed with its headline, The Sun What Won It. However, it was not the last time the paper would switch support. In March 1997, it backed Labour 6 weeks before the general election victory. 6 weeks before the general election victory, which saw Tony Blair become Prime Minister with a substantial majority. Its front page headline announcing its support read, The Sun backs Blair. The paper held its allegiance to Labour until September 2009, when it announced that it would not back Labour at the following general election. It turned external and that it favoured the Conservatives instead. That election saw Labour ousted from power and the Tories enter the parliament, albeit as a part of coalition with the Liberal Democrats, right? So clearly the Sun has a lot of sway, but also the Sun had a lot of sway, at least up until 2018. But also, you don't just switch allegiance 6 weeks before just because, right? You switch allegiance because you see that's what that's what is going to drive your sales numbers, right? Which is in line with what both Rupert Murdoch and Larry Lamb believe, and the subsequent editors as well. They're all terrible people, right? So politically, they have been more conservative than liberal or than left. I don't think they've ever managed to be left. I don't think you can be this much of a fucking idiot and be left. But conservative, yes, fully aligns with all the conservatives I know, and they have switched from Labour to Conservative Party on and off, not for the journalistic integrity, but because they are opportunistic assholes. Speaking of opportunistic assholes, Sandy?
We are also opportunistic assholes because we have these ads coming up right now, right about now. So please take this opportunity to listen to these ads, and we'll see you on the other side. Hope you made good use of that opportunity and listened
Good
to those
use?
ads. Yeah, good use, very good use for us. Hope you made good use of that opportunity and listened to that. Probably only one ad because we only put one. Anyway, welcome back to the episode. Back to you, Ashmita.
All right. So we spoke about, the political allegiance. We spoke about the ownership. And now we are coming to the infamous page 3, which has made the journalistic world of, arguably a worse place, right? Now, if you remember, we spoke about this for just a bit, was that in 1970 it was launched, just 1 year after Murdoch took over. And page 3 primarily featured photos of topless models, right? And this segment was obviously targeted to a male audience, right? And, it intended to titillate and sensationalize things. And that's how it intended to increase sales. And it did. Like, the commercial success was undeniable, but it was quite terrible. And I am saying this as somebody who's absolutely has zero problems with nude photographs, right? Depending on who benefits from it, that is my problem with the porn industry as well. That if consensual adults, and by adults I don't mean just teenagers barely crossing 18, like legitimately have had some time to think about their lives and have fully developed brains, if they are, whether in sex work or in porn industry, are benefiting the most from the content that they create for people's consumptions, that makes a lot of sense to me. Why wouldn't they? Right? Why is that a problem? But that is not the case in most cases. Porn industry is an extremely exploitative industry. The actors don't get paid as much. They barely make anything. There are very, very lax safety considerations, and most of the money is pocketed by the network. That was the same case here as well, right? Murdoch and his gang were pocketing most of the money. Despite that, and despite a lot of objections, right, and promoting sexism, the tradition of page 3 sort of continued for decades, and it was as late as 2015 when it was discontinued. Speaks a lot about what we as a people also consume. Like, that's sounds weird to me that it stayed on till 2015. But what's worth talking about here is it's one terrible incident, right? And terrible in a, thankfully not in a trafficking or exploiting sort of way, but just common everyday sexism and, vitriol towards women, right? So we're going to talk about that. So during 1980s, a Labour MP, Claire Short, she called for page 3 to be banned for encouraging the objectification and denigration of women. And this was followed by the Sun being its, surprise, surprise, disgusting sexist self. This is taken from the Guardian's coverage. And again, as usual, we are going to share it on Instagram as well. But this was Sun's response to Claire talking about, banning page 3. It says, fat, jealous Claire brands page 3 porn, right? And this blurred picture that you see of a model wearing a bikini, it's actually not a bikini, it's just the bikini bottom. She's topless. On that, the photo is that of the face is the superimposed face of the MP Claire. This was the Sun's disgusting fucking response. The Guardian article that I had this picture, it says, the Sun has launched a scathing personal attack on Labour MP Claire Short, branding her a killjoy and fat and jealous of its page 3 girls. It hit out at the maverick Labour MP after she renewed her attack on page 3 girls, branding pictures of topless models, degrading pornography. Using a montage of Miss Short's face superimposed on a topless model, it likened her to the back of a bus and jokes that making her into a page 3 girl would be mission impossible. From my understanding, Claire Short did not actually say anything against the models, but more against the paper. But of course, the paper spun it like this. And this was not the first or the last of its disgusting attacks on people. Anybody that they went against with a vengeance and for no reason, right? They would pick up and go against the sole goal, like Larry Lamb had put it, was to increase sales. That's all. That's all they cared about, right? There were quite a few weird and absolutely completely false stories that they put up. Remember we spoke about Elton John? Right?
Yeah.
Do you know how they went against, like, have you heard of the story of Elton John and Rent Boys and all of those?
I am very vaguely aware of this, but yeah, it would help
Yeah.
to give more context on that. Yeah.
So that the whole rumor that was spread that Elton John basically hires boy prostitutes, that was fully by the Sun, right? There's this book called Press Gang, How Newspapers Make Profits from Propaganda. And this details Sun's involvement. I am quoting from what Wikipedia has said because I will put a link to this book. It is there in archive.org.
What does that site do?
Archive, you can get all these old books that are not sold anymore. You can borrow them. You can also read. Oh, you were asking sarcastically. I thought you were genuinely asking me. Everything that is archived is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Wikipedia, I'll read out Wikipedia's collation because that is far shorter. It says, The Sun ran a series of false stories about Elton John from 25th February 1987, which eventually resulted in a total of 17 libel suits. They began with an invented account of the singer having sexual relationships with rent boys. After further stories in September 1987, The Sun accused John of having his Rottweiler guard dog's voice boxes surgically removed.
Why though?
No reason.
Yeah.
They're just, there is no reason. All of this is false, right? In November, the Daily Mirror found their rival's only source for the Rent Boy story, who admitted it was a totally fictitious concoction created for money. They haven't mentioned that source, but that source was basically, he just said whatever he said because the Sun gave him money to say it, right? This is so weird. The inaccurate story about his dogs, they did not even get the dog's breed correct. It was not Rottweiler, they were Alsatians.
I thought you were going to say they got the Rottweiler's coat also. And what their side of the story was.
Would you be surprised if the Sun published Rottweiler's side of the story? I wouldn't be surprised
Yeah,
even
yeah.
for a single second.
It would be published.
What?
They would publish.
Oh my God, Prakhar.
Yes, that is better.
Anyway,
Yes.
the inaccurate story about his dogs put pressure on the Sun, and John received £1 million in an out-of-court settlement, then the largest damages paid in British history. The Sun ran a front-page apology on 12th December 1988 under the banner headline, "Sorry, Elton." Don't get me wrong, right? Like Elton John has, like many other famous people, his own issues, right? He has a notoriously bad temper. Prakhar, I don't know much about this. So do you know what other issues Elton John has? I just have read like some random things, sexist things that he has said.
It's every artist of those times. They all had such issues.
Right,
Yeah, more or
the
less.
sexist, extremely problematic things.
Yeah.
He was also once accused of sexual harassment by his bodyguard, like a lot of different things. But these stories were false. They were not true. There was no need to do this, right? It was absolutely insane. They also published like a bunch of more depressing things, like in between and we will not go into the depths of this because this is quite insane. In between they published some, I think 2016 or 17, they published some articles saying that it has been found that 1 in 5 UK Muslims support jihadis, which was absolutely wrong, completely false. Like they quoted a survey and that survey never said anything like this. Right, so shit like this. And as of late, as in 2023, this is, by the way, when the Sun's MO is clearly not working, because by 2018 their sales had reduced to a large extent. It had gone down to only 750,000 copies in circulation. Despite that, they continued with their MO, right? And this time in 2023, they published a really terrible, random sexist attack on Meghan Markle, for no reason. I am quoting from AP News coverage of what happened here. A column in the Sun tabloid that fantasized about seeing Prince Harry's wife Meghan being pelted with feces as she was paraded naked through the streets was sexist, Britain's press watchdog found. The column by TV personality Jeremy Clarkson. For those of you who don't know Jeremy Clarkson, oh my
Top
God,
Gear.
Top Gear,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
he's an insane man. Okay, he's a
Yeah.
TV presenter.
He's a madman. Yeah.
He's a nuisance. Okay, and for some reason he wrote a column for the Sun, and the Sun fully published it without fact checking. The column by TV personality Jeremy Clarkson in December described how he hated the Duchess of Sussex. Huh? On a cellular level. He
Sussex.
said Sussex.
Sussex.
Sussex, right. Duchess of
Not
Sussex.
success.
He said,
Maybe she's the Duchess of Success as well, but I don't know
Yeah.
that for a fact.
yeah, but no, this one is the place Sussex.
Yes.
He says he hated her on a cellular level. Fuck knows why. The article continues. Clarkson said she used vivid bedroom promises to turn Harry into a warrior of woke and controlled him like a sock puppet. How he knows this is anybody's guess, right? So when this column was published,
He was hiding under the bed, probably.
ew,
But he won't be able to fit under a bed, to be very honest. So
oh my,
that's out of the window.
I think the only person in the world you're allowed to fat shame is Jeremy Clarkson, to be very honest. Anyway, this column thankfully led to a record number of complaints. 25,000 complaints were made to the press regulator in the UK. And that's how the whole bring down, the press regulator, the watchdog basically made the Sun print out an apology, right? Clarkson also later clarified, and this is wild. He clarified that he had been making a reference to the scene in Game of Thrones, but he had omitted to mention the name of the show in to meet his deadline.
Sure.
So he didn't check it. The editor was like, maybe parading a woman naked and pelting her with shit is not something that we should publish. Nothing doing. They just went ahead with it. And they were forced to print an apology. And this was something to do with Meghan Markle, that is why there was so many
Yeah,
complaints
yeah.
and everything. But so much of vitriol has been thrown at so many people
Also, you
by
need
so
to
many.
remember that I'm not the biggest fan of Meghan Markle, by the way. That's where I'm coming from. But having said that, she's a woman of color. That's also where a lot of this is coming from. Right? You
I
need
think
to understand that.
I think the Sun sort of doesn't discriminate on that basis. The Sun is like hate whoever the fuck we possibly can.
I don't think so.
No?
There have been I'm not sure if it's a Sun or if it's some other one, but there have been some similar hit pieces on a lot of black football players, and I don't recall whether it was the Sun or someone else, but there was some tabloid only.
I mean, it is the
So
right wing.
genuinely would not put it past them to stoop to
Fair.
that.
Yeah, that is believable. I believe that. There are many, many, many such articles. And
Yeah.
honestly, it is too much to get into. And I was telling Sandy that my notes have already exceeded 11 pages, and Sandy was like, make an executive decision and cut it down then. So that is why I am not
Yeah.
getting, as I'm not getting into all the others, right? But I will end with some good news. And I like this. I'm going to make this a
Yeah,
trend.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was right. So just very briefly, I'll
Yeah.
interject. Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling is a very good footballer. He used to play for Liverpool, then he played for Manchester City. Then he now currently is on the payroll of Chelsea Football Club. So in 2018, The Sun published a front page story about a tattoo that he had of a rifle. Who cares, man, what kind of tattoo he has, right?
Yeah.
So he had a rifle tattoo, and then they subsequently quote unquote expose on his private life and career.
Expose.
Yes, Sterling had explained that the tattoo was a tribute to his father who was killed by a gun, right? And then he promised himself that he would never touch one. That was basically his meaning behind that tattoo. But the Sun went on a different tangent,
Of
and
course.
like he likes gun violence. He's a proponent of gun violence and shit like that. And in case were not able to guess, Raheem Sterling is a black footballer. So
Of course. I haven't studied journalism. I am just assuming that when you find out something, you verify. I don't know. One of the most basic things is ask the person
yeah,
who got the tattoo. That
Yeah.
yeah,
seems,
And we just
and he's telling you why.
yeah.
we straight up assume.
Yeah, that is the Sun's brand
But
of journalism.
there is no fun in the facts. No, that's the whole point.
True. That is true. It doesn't sell. And to be fair, it genuinely doesn't, right? Independent media houses are
Yeah.
struggling because of this. Anyway, so I wanted to give some good news, and I felt quite good writing this part. And I think I'm going to make it a thing to find out, because my topics are so depressing. I'm going to make it a thing to find out good news at the end of every topic. As good as it gets. It's never going to be great news, right? It's never going to make you feel great. It's going to just slightly make the whole 1.5, 2 hours a little less depressing, right? Before I get to the good news, I have a side note. So yesterday I was recording a podcast where I was a guest, and I was talking about RSS, right? And the lady, and she's it's by the way, if anybody is around, it's a good podcast to listen to. It's called Talking Shit About. She's also, Elizabeth also does that. It's very random topics, and people come and talk about it. And she's from the US, so we were constantly drawing parallels to what RSS is doing here, and what the US has been doing also. And then she was like, I just wanted to end on a hopeful note, and we spoke for 5 more minutes without having any hopeful note, because it is the RSS. And I was like, you have absolutely chosen the wrong guest to end anything on a hopeful note. So that is also
Yeah,
why
that is
today,
true.
Sandy, I can say that. You shouldn't say that. You should say, no, you can do a better job.
The facts are never fun, Ashmita. Remember that.
Fair enough.
So anyway, so that is actually why I went back and I wrote this particular part because I was like, maybe I should bring in some good news, right? So I'm going to go back to the article by the independent outlet, The Conversation, in 2024 that we spoke about. And it talks about today's state of the sun. And I quote, "Whatever one's views, it is hard to deny the paper's influence and significance to the British culture and politics. As it moves towards pensionable age, however, the Sun, like the rest of the press, has lost most of its power. It no longer publishes official sales figures." And I just want to interject saying that is telling. A newspaper that was established on very publicly stating that it's only sales that determines the quality of a newspaper, when it suddenly stops publishing its sales numbers, you know it's not great, right? Going back to the article, it says it no longer publishes official sales figures, but they are likely to be around 750,000, a far cry from the 4 million circulation of the 1980s. Its readership is aging, and although it has established a niche online, it has fallen far behind the social media giants in the provision of news and entertainment. It is telling that the paper that boasted after the 1992 general election, "It's the Sun what won it," was so late and lackluster in declaring its support in the campaign of 2024. However hard it tries, the Sun can no longer plausibly pretend it represents the age we live in. So that's good. That is some bright, hope that comes out of this. So that was about the Sun. In case you all are interested, of course we'll be putting the links. Do go through the articles if you are so inclined, because they talk about so much more that I couldn't cover because it was getting too long. But the Sun this is not even the tip of the iceberg. The Sun has done some nasty shit.
Okay. What's your recommendation?
Recommendation time.
So I am reading this book called, it's a very, very popular book, right? I'm sure most of you must have read it in your childhood.
Sapiens.
No, fuck no. The Diary of Anne Frank, right? And I'm rereading it. I read it last when I was, I think, 14, 15. And I strongly recommend it because a lot of people I know wouldn't pick up, including myself, I wouldn't have picked up a classic that I've already read, right? But I think as an adult, and especially in light of what's been happening today, and for especially of people of the East, right? We are not as aware of or don't see anti-Semitism in our daily lives as much as the people in the West did. Anne Frank's diary of course, it's all of that, right? It's heartbreaking and it's really, really terrible. But it also showcases, and please do not take this to justify the existence of Israel. That's not what this book is about. This little girl, right? The maturity that she's forced to show at that age, I think she starts writing it when she's 13. It is just insane. It's extremely heartbreaking, extremely sad, but also it's important to read that from the perspective of an adult and not as a teenager. When you read it as a teenager, it has a very different impact. You understand the story and you understand how sad it is. But as an adult, when you read it and when you know that a 13-year-old is writing it, you really appreciate the consequences of, for example, what the Nazi Party did to Jews and to people of the LGBTQ community, and following that many, many other shitty things that happened across the globe, right? What oppressors have done to oppressed communities. You see the impact it has on children specifically in a very different light. And I think it's important to see that because it gets lost in, when we talk about children, the conversation gets lost in numbers because children always have been one of the biggest sufferers of war and genocide and any kind of ethnic cleansing. So they get lost in numbers, but the psychological aspect is so crucial to understand. So I would strongly suggest, I hope you're all adult listeners, so the adult listeners to read this book back. It's absolutely worth it.
Yes. Our data suggests all our listeners are between the ages of 18 and 44. So they can be considered adult.
18 is too young. They're also teenagers only. What are 18-year-olds doing here? Amazing.
Yes.
They do care, no?
I made the recommendations depressing, but it's worth a read.
Yeah, if you know of more such depressing stuff, please do write to us at don'tknowdocare1@gmail.com. We are always on the lookout for more depressive stuff. You know,
Actually, you can write to Ashmita directly.
yeah, the more depressing the stuff, the better the chances of it making it to an episode by Ashmita, you know. So do write to us at don'tknowdocare1@gmail.com. The one is numerical. Or you could write to us on Instagram at DKDC Podcast. Either way, it works out. No one has done it so far, but we're still hoping someone will.
Yeah, literally nobody has written to us.
But we're holding out hope that someone will eventually. We'll be holding out hope for that.
Did we receive any recommendations or email from Rahim Kalla?
No,
If you know.
nothing. No, nothing.
Prakhar, do you want to give some context to that?
No, let's just leave it to that.
Just,
you know,
just
you know.
the person who uses the name Rahim Kalla will know.
Yeah,
That's enough for
if
us.
he's listening to
Yeah.
the episodes.
I mean, I hope he's listening anyway. But yeah, while we hold out hope for more of any of such mails or messages on our Instagram or inbox, we'll wait and we hope to see you in the next episode. Till then, take care. Bye bye.